everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Addicts podcast, season 3, episode 10. My guests today are Doug and John from the Wendibros. We'll start out like we always do, guys. Just introduce yourself to everybody out there watching, and then we'll get rolling.
Okay, well, I'm Doug with the Wendibros, and we are I don't know if we can say paranormal investigative group because we kind of do a lot of different things, but we've been pretty stuck on ghost here lately, and then actually going out there and doing a lot of investigation. So maybe we're a little bit of that. I think I like the way John says it. We probably go after the supernatural more than anything, and for us, it's also looking into the anomalous out there too. So we're always looking for anomalies.
Yeah, I mean, we're friends. We go back, not a long time, but we go back,
Yeah.
a little while. And of course, you guys are coming down to the expo this year as our,
Yep.
and so I think, I definitely consider myself a paranormal investigator, but I also do the cryptids and all that stuff too. Because realistically, it's all paranormal. It's definitely not normal. So,
Yeah.
I guess ghosts is my main thing. But
Yeah.
I've definitely been on a Bigfoot investigation. I've definitely been on a Dogman investigation. I've even been on a chupacabra investigation. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So I'm kind of like you guys. I'll do a little bit of everything. Yeah. So my first few questions are
Sure.
just so everybody can get to know you a little bit better. So tell us how the Wendibros started. How you guys?
Yeah, so with the Wendibros, the way we started, we actually, I had always been attracted to the paranormal as a child and growing up, and that was something I'd always been heavily interested in. And throughout the time, and John and I, we're close to our 40s now, but from 14 to now to almost 40. Him and I were always going out and looking for the spooky parts of Appalachia, and we did it with a lot without a name. And then we actually had started out as the Blood Brothers, which was kind of our first entry into the world of the weird. And that was around COVID. And so I think everybody around that time during COVID decided to start a podcast. So we decided to start a podcast too. But we were talking about, everything weird. And I think for us, out of all the places, we actually started getting kind of a following in Australia. And they wanted to know all about haunted Appalachia. And so while we were on that subject, we started to kind of transition from the Blood Brothers into the Wendibros, and that name came from, whenever you need a bro, just think about us. We may be pretty close. So kind of like the Wendigo. And we had made a post that asking for just people, that have something weird going on. And I would say this is probably about 2021. We say we started in 2023, but we were kind of fledgling in 2021, 2022. And we made a post and went viral. And this was like months down the line before it went, before it gained any traction. And we suddenly had people saying, hey, I've seen Bigfoot in my backyard. I have haunted things, going on. And, I have haunted stores and this, and can you guys come out and take a look at it? And so, obviously I was like, yeah, I'd love to come out and take a look at it. So we kind of left the world of podcasting into boots on the ground, which we still do podcasting, but we're more boots on the ground now.
Yeah. I still podcast too, but I'm definitely boots on the ground. So I get that. So my next question, I guess this is more related to the podcast and for maybe people who already know you guys a little bit, but it's a fun question anyway. Who is the Wendibot?
The Wendibot. Okay. So the Wendibot was actually something that I created. So what I was working on, so I actually used and I know this is kind of like a touchy world right now with AI and but the way Wendibot came out is I almost in many ways like we kind of created our own folklore in a way. And so I said, if you're familiar with like the saying "ghost in the machine," I said, well, I'm going to literally create my own what a lot of folks would call like a tulpa, TULPA, something that you imagine manifesting to something real. And so I said, well, I'm going to create my own ghost in the machine. So I started using freeware versions of AI, not ChatGPT, but just stuff that I could actually program and work. And I started just pumping our files into it, our data, what we knew, and then pretty much any kind of form of literature that I had, and just pumped it into it. And then I actually transitioned, and we referred to Wendibot as a her. But the Wendibot got transitioned over into a vocal software called 11 Labs, and that gave Wendibot its voice. So that's Wendibot. We haven't been using her as much, but we do consider her to be definitely a big part of the team. And it's so funny because whenever people actually get to listen to her and talk to her and stuff, like at our office, they love it.
All right, let's talk a little bit about your style, your approach, and stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are known for combining humor into serious topics.
Yeah.
How do you balance that? What is your balance?
Our balance is being respectful to the place that we're investigating, being respectful of the people that we're interviewing, and being respectful of any encounters that we may have. Where we're not respectful is probably towards each other.
Yeah, we like to joke with each other.
I didn't see John pop on. Hey, John. But yeah, we tend to we always say we laugh at each other, but we never laugh at you.
Kind of like a fraternity thing going on there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I get that. I mean, my team is a big team now. As far as active members, they're not big, but it's and we're like a family. So yeah, we tend to give each other a hard time. I mean, even stuff that are serious. Like one time we were investigating the Anderson Hotel over in Eastern Kentucky, and I was actually one of the lucky ones that got to experience the bite.
Oh wow!
So that was a joke for a while until we went upstairs, and then the one spirit up there, he's a malicious spirit. He lived there, and he drank himself to the point that he hung himself in the closet. All of his liquor bottles are still there.
Oh my goodness!
But he also ran prostitutes in and out of the hotel. So my niece is on my team, and when we went there, she was 19. So she decided to use the prostitute angle for to get the conversation going. So she comes upstairs and she's like, "This is still one of the best EVPs I've ever got." She came upstairs and she's like, "I'm 19, cute. Can I get a job?" The response we got was immediate, and it was a guy's voice, and the response was $50 a free room.
Wow. Well, so she gets paid and boarding. Okay.
Yeah. So every time something bad happens, like a car breaks down or something, we tell her that's because she didn't take the job. The ghost is punishing her. So yeah. Okay. So appellation word and cosmic curiosity. Those are like your two things. And for the people who don't really understand Appalachia, there's some strange stuff going on there, So, I mean, I'm from this side of the Appalachian, but
yeah,
I'm from the Kentucky side, but I'm still there, So, yeah, I mean, even from a ghost standpoint, we got a call a couple years ago now from this hotel, and what was going on is this one room in this hotel. There had been 5 deaths or disappearances.
In that, which hotel was that?
Caves. I'll look it up and let you know because I don't want to misquote me. It's like Cave City. It's really like a motor inn type hotel. Nothing fancy. But so 5 deaths or disappearances. The last one was a young man, like 20 something, in his 20s, and he's just disappeared. They've never found a body. They've never found him. So, well, activity also happens. Of course, activity always happens. So, like it was owned by a husband and wife team, and she would go in there and feel like something was touching her, watching her. Like it would play with the video, the camera leads, and all that stuff. And the lady never wanted anybody to look at it because she didn't want to get labeled as a haunted location. She did.
Yeah.
She did. Well, they decided they were going to sell it, and so they called us. So we went out there. And what was interesting is the guy that owns it. He's like the leader of the Kentucky Bigfoot Association. So you get there and there's Bigfoot statues and everything all around the hotel. And like I said, it's just this one room. And we automatically start having all kinds of activity. But what we ended up finding out, from research to go along with our activity we had, is what people may or may not know about Appalachia in the early 19th century. They didn't believe in birth control, but they were also really poor. So once they got a certain amount of kids, they would sell the rest into slavery, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the hotel, where the hotel was, that was the spot where they used to sell the kids.
Oh, wow. Okay. So kind of, so like indentured servitude and trafficking.
Yeah. And it was really interesting because we had like a really malicious spirit. And from what we gathered from, the evidence we got and studied, that was probably like the guy that was buying the kids. And then of course we had kids. And then we had this other one that was like, I guess nowadays we call him special needs. And he was trying to protect the kids. So it was really cool. Really interesting, especially to be in such a small space. Because like I said, it wasn't the whole hotel. It was just that one room, room 7. I don't know why. But anyway, so Appalachian has a lot of interesting things.
It does. It does. It's very entrenched in history, and it goes back for probably thousands of years since it's broken off from the Scottish Highlands.
Right. So let's talk about different kinds of encounters you've had or investigation. So cryptid, I guess the number one cryptid in America anyway is Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm. It's always Bigfoot. It's always Bigfoot.
Bigfoot. Yep. Well, actually down here in my part, we have Dogman. Dogman's big in the LBL. And,
Land Between the Legs, which we definitely have on our list. As far as and I've talked enough. I'll let John talk a little bit now, but I was going to say probably. I know John had kind of a more physical encounter at our last investigation in November. I don't know if we lost him.
Okay.
Nope.
Right.
Okay. Hey, you got visual.
We can see him now. Hey,
that's the more handsome guy. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry. And what location were you talking about, Doug?
The River House.
Oh yeah. Okay. So we were going through the halls and asking questions, and there were 2 teams of us there. There was us and Chasing Ravens, who was there, and they brought us on to and it was really awesome to check that place out. But I walked into the hallway and I wasn't really asking any questions, but I just got this tingle, and it started in like my shoulder here, and it went all the way down and all the way down into my heel. And it was just like very strange. It was just past, like, and I was like, I'm not having a heart attack, am I? But it was just a weird tingle, and then it went away. And I told them, I was like, something just, like, I just felt something. I don't know what it was, but in the other room, we heard the other team, and they were laughing. They were just horse laughing. We were like, what's so funny? He's like, did you hear that? And they had a spirit box, and do you remember exactly what it said, Doug? What did it say?
So so it touched you, and you're like, well, I didn't, you're like, I don't know what that was, blah, blah. So we go in the other room, they have their spirit box, and it actually said, I like that. And that was such a mischievous house in general, but it was weird because we had such a good time there. It was such a, and we don't really find a lot that we would really consider haunted, but the river house was one that we pretty much concluded, like, if you want to be traditionally haunted, I would say, yeah, you're probably looking at a legitimate location.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I even try not to use the word haunted very much because it's overused. So when I go to a place and I think it's actually haunted, I use the word active. I'm like, that location is active because
That's a good point.
If you say haunted, everybody always assumes it's like something evil or so. I was like, most ghosts are not bad. They're just hanging out for whatever reason. It's our job to figure out why they're still there. So yeah, yeah. So you guys are going to come down up. It's up for you. You guys are going to come up here to be part of my expo this year. So we have, like you said, you guys haven't done very many of these yet. So, but what I like to tell people in the community, in the family, whatever term you want to use, people that are actually investigators or whatever. So when you go to a Paracon or whatever term you want to use, mine's a Paranormal Expo. But so whenever you go to an event like that, for us, it really is a convention. Because when we get there, this year especially, I'm psyched this year because for the first time, this is my 4th year doing it. For the first time, I actually have a UFO guy. Huntington Strange Travel. Michael Huntington is the guy. He's actually going to be there this year. So I'm excited about that. I got a cryptozoologist again. I got you guys. I mean, I got lots of. I got several ghost people. I got Aaron G. Thompson. Most people know him for 28 Days Haunted. He's a good friend of mine. He's a good friend of mine. He's coming in. Matter of fact, he wrote the introduction to my book.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's a good friend. Yep.
Yeah.
So and then I'm actually working on my second book right now, and my third book.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah, and my first book's already out. It's Don't Buy Generic Batteries, and it's probably not a demon. The
well, that's good advice. Yeah, it's
the memoirs of a paranormal investigator. So it starts back from my childhood because I was born with abilities, whatever you want to call them. I consider them gifts now. I consider them gifts. I consider them gifts from God. 4-year-old, 5-year-old me didn't necessarily consider them a gift, but I do now. And like the first line I wrote in my book after Aaron G. Thompson's introduction, my first line in the book is most people's first memory is their first bike or their first little league game. My first one is actually the first time I saw an apparition. So it goes all the way back to that. And then I did my first investigation when I was 12. And that was way before most of the people watching me were alive. I think that was back in 1989 and 1986. That was back in 1986. And so that was interesting because when I got started, I'm from the Bible Belt. Not only the Bible Belt. I'm not only the Bible Belt. I'm from like the capital of the Bible Belt. I think we have more churches than we have people, and
it's like that out here in Tennessee for sure. Yeah, we are 100% in the Bible Belt.
Yeah. So I was actually told by a complete stranger when I was 6 years old. The 60-some-odd-year-old black lady came up to me in Cape Girardeau at St. Francis Hospital and looked at me and told me I was going to hell and I was the tool of the devil.
Yeah, we've gotten that a few times.
I'm like, thank you for that.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. So I didn't really have anybody to guide me, so we didn't have ghost hunters, ghost adventurers, ghost brothers, ghost dogs, ghost whatever. We didn't have any of that. We had one Friday a month. We had Robert Stack on Unsolved Mysteries. One Friday a month, he did the unexplained. And that's what we had.
I loved it.
And other than that, I had the library, so I studied every book I could get. most of the books I could get was by Ed and Lorraine Warren. I actually got called down to the principal's office for checking out all these books. The principal looked at me and he's like, should we be worried about you checking out these books? I'm like, what? But anyway, but that just shows you how far it's came. I mean, and mostly for the good. The parapop, there's not, some of the parapop culture is not very good. That's my word. Do you like that word, parapop culture?
Parapop culture, yeah.
Parapop culture, that's my word. So that kind of leads me to my next question. First of all, I acknowledge that I'm technically part of the parapop culture. Obviously, I acknowledge that. But I also acknowledge that I'm a nobody. So my question is, this is my question for you guys. And I asked this question to the guests that I respect and wanted to get their feedback on it. So the question is, how do you think the parapop culture has affected the field, both positively and negatively?
I think, that is a good question. I think, I think that you have to look at it from both, and I'll probably be talking out of both sides of my mouth. Here's the thing, you have your Sam and Colbys out there, you have your Elton Castiles, you have your Zach Bagans, and they're all very entertaining, and I think that's what they are entertainers. And anytime that John and I've been at a convention or been in with large groups, we always get the question, are you guys like Zach Bagans? Are you like Sam and Colby? And the typical answer is no, we're not. But I would say that somewhere along the lines, because I think on that end, does it negatively impact paranormal investigation? Sure, it does. But does it also positively impact it? Absolutely. Because I think that you have a double-edged sword there. Because sometimes with these smaller groups out there, and like you said, and never call yourself a nobody, but for us, I always say that we're the best ones that you've never heard of. But yeah. So, but on that, some of these smaller groups, there's almost a certain animosity out there in many ways that we've found out there in the field. And we've met some amazing groups. John talked about Chasing Ravens. Awesome guys, truly incredible guys. We've been talking to the Midnight Guild. Again, really awesome group out there. But, I think that there's a certain... trying to think of the word to use on that, but there's a certain elitism out there too, that you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way, you have to do this, you have to follow this rule. And I think that you touched on at the beginning, and what I always tell people, and I've talked to a few folks out there that want to get into this field and have asked me my tips or advice on that. And the biggest thing I can say is just go do it. There's nothing really stopping you from doing it. The reason why it's called paranormal is because it's not normal. There's nothing in the realm of normal about it. So, test it, research it. So I think what you have to look at is, with a lot of these bigger names out there, we have to look at it from the lens of they're probably more paranormal enthusiasts. And I think that you can break it up into brackets. And I'm sure John will probably touch on this too. And he may agree with me whenever I say that, in this realm, you have paranormal researchers, you have paranormal enthusiasts, and then you have, paranormal investigators, and then probably tourists as well, too. And I would say a lot of these groups out there are probably more tourists and enthusiasts than actual investigators or researchers. And it's not to cast stones, but that's an important stipulation for the Wendibros. I would say we're all of the above. We're going out there, we're doing active research, we're doing active investigation, and then that's, John's very analytical, guy's a mathematician, and then I'm very much a historian, and I'm pretty analytical myself. So we always want to get to the bottom of something if something truly is happening. But as far as like the para-pop culture, it has its place, just like, the indie ones have its place. They're not, both need each other. And I think that, you hear a lot about unity out there and a lot of folks claiming that there's unity out there, but, unfortunately we don't see a lot of it. And there is a this side, that side, and you can't be somewhere in between on that. And I think that if people realize that, then, we could probably coexist.
Yeah. And I think building on that, and we should see more collaboration between people.
Mhm.
But I think that one of the problems, and why it's going to be a while before that actually happens, or it's going to happen very minimally, is because one of the pros of the parapop culture is that it's brought it into the public eye, and it's made it more accessible and easy to find, and I don't want to say palatable, but it's people are more, they don't just rush their nose when you say something like that. But it's also brought this kind of like level of expectation of dramatics, theatrics, however you want to call it. When you have a show, when you're on a syndicated network television show or anything similar, they want viewers. And so if you can't find something, and that's what your job is, then some people like to create something. And instead of just saying, hey, we didn't find anything, or what we did find, there's a lot of different explanations it could be. We need to rule those out first. Some people just like to jump to the most
demon.
Yeah, exactly. It's demon.
I just got 25 more likes for saying demon.
So I do agree with Doug. There are different tiers of people, and you're going to get theatrics out of the enthusiasts and the tourists. But all we're trying to do is get out there and find things. People reach out to us and say, we'd like you to look into this. We want you to come see this. And, before we leave, we'll tell them, hey, this is what we think it is. And sometimes it's not what they want to hear. Sometimes it is what they want to hear.
Exactly. And so continue on this conversation, because this is an interesting conversation, and really is a needed one right now, because, and I, honestly, I call myself a nobody, but I understand. I'm real respected. I was actually really humbled. I was one of the featured people at Smoky Mountain Terror last year down you guys' way, and I figured I was going to be a small fish in a big pond, because we had SOS there, we had Outlaw Paranormal there, we had a Paranormal Journey there, and then there was me, and then I decided, hey, I'm going to invite somebody else big. So I invited Josh Morris to come too. So, yeah, not that I wasn't smaller enough to begin with. Now so anyway, I figured I was going to be like, nobody would care, nobody. But I had so many people come over to me. They're like, yeah, we know who you are. They already knew the podcast. I did the podcast live there, and, had people come and interview me live during the podcast. So I understand, I've been doing this a long time. So I understand that. And I also understand a good friend of mine, Sarah, from Get Haunted, she was on the show like 3 years ago, and we were talking about this, and she put it this way. She's like, what you have to understand that, it might bother me that the people out there faking and stuff, they get more likes than me. That might bother me, but there's still a place for that, because the people who tune into that are tuning in to get entertained. They're not tuning in to actually see what it's like. So, and I mean, I got friends that are definitely in the parapop culture. One of my good friends is Gavin Kelly, and we're actually from the same hometown, so we go way back. And he actually always says that parapop culture is dead. It's there's no parapop culture anymore. And that's sad. But I also see it. I'm that person, as you guys know. I'm that person who still tries to collaborate with everybody. But we have my problem with all that. First of all, I want to say I'm not anti-TV show. I'm not anti any of that. The thing is, there's a place for that. I mean, if I can make money doing this, I would love to. I mean, do you think I wrote my book and hope nobody buy it? Come on now. So
right.
Yeah.
There's a place for that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and even if we go back to, so let's go back to Ghost Hunters. Let's go back to Tats.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, Jason Grant, all of them. I mean, you have to say they was mostly legit. But even Grant, I mean, even Jason admits around season 4 or 5, the producers were like, "We need more action."
Yeah, that's true. So Jason Halls did actually comment on that, and I think that's probably a big reason why he moved away from it. And the whole Jason Halls thing, I'm not sure about his old daughter and son-in-law situation where it's kind of seems like it's a little bit more sensationalized. But I mean, it that's usually what attracts viewers, unfortunately. But I think a lot of that is that folks need to realize that. Is para pop culture dead? It could be, which is ironic, but it's, but on that end though, I don't think that it's dead in the sense that maybe we just need to evolve it. And that's kind of where John and I kind of stand on it too. Is that, we're not going to sensationalize. And, that's one thing that we get asked a lot whenever we go to locations or places. And, that was the first thing that we got asked at the Euro Shrine is you guys can't come if you're going to run around screaming and acting a fool. And we were very clear that we don't do that. But on that, is there entertainment value to be had? Sure. But I think that's, just finding some humor here and there whenever things, kind of go awry, or if you trip over something or fall down, or you just say something silly. That stuff's still there, but I think, especially in this day of information, I think that's also kind of paramount to what you really need is, I think folks out there are looking for knowledge. For us, what's worked the best for us is that we found that, and I'm not going to speak for John, but I personally, my mantra is that I don't really care about the Queen Marys as much. I don't care about like the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Because we'll never evolve if we continue to go there. Those places have already been investigated time and time again. What really needs to happen is that we need to go out there, find new stories, talk to people. And that's where we kind of came in with that is, you're going to get some of the most fascinating, some of the most entertaining, some of the funniest, some of the saddest, some of the most frightening things that you've ever heard by just talking to folks like us, just walking by. And I know whenever we were at Sausage Over Appalachia last year, and it's not a brag, but John and I had quite a crowd over at our booth. One, we weren't charging anybody anything. We just set up and said, tell us your story. And what we found was that a lot of folks wanted to talk about this stuff, and they had experiences and things that they truly believed, but they were always afraid of the scrutiny of it. And for us, and we may not believe it, but you get those things that fall in sometimes. You're like, okay, I think you may have something, but we're also soundboard too, to where, you can come talk to a bro and we're going to listen to you. We're not going to laugh at you. We're not going to judge you. And then, so I think on that, we have to think in terms of what's different and what's not being done, because there's only so many places you can go into and you go, oh, dude, did you hear that? Oh, what was that? Oh, something fell. And 9 times out of 10, when something falls off a shelf, you're usually in an old building that's crumbling apart. And, I'm a bigger guy. I'm, 6'1", 235, and I got mine right here. That's the reason my camera's up high. But whenever I walk into a place, something's gonna, fall off a shelf probably, or a rock's gonna fall. It's we can't just jump at everything. So, but we still have to have something there to make it worth watching and worth telling, and more importantly, people want to listen to it.
Yeah,
right.
I don't want anybody to think I just hate on any kind of paranormal show. I enjoy them. But props to them. I know a lot of work goes into a lot of those productions, but I think one of the reasons why people could get away with saying that this para pop culture is dead is because people don't want to watch the same episode over and over, and it's just like, oh, what was that? And and we got these crazy readings, but you're going to get readings at places, but it's just like it's a formula, and the formula works for a while, but if you don't change the formula, you know, you're going to get sick of it. And I think a lot of people get sick of seeing the same thing over and over. And like Doug said, going out and talking to people and hearing stories that you're not going to find in haunted books, haunted places books, and things like that was very refreshing. And it really kind of spearheaded us into doing what we like to do. So.
I mean, I like that approach. So this is I'm going to make this one last statement on this topic, and we're going to move on because we've really spent too much time on this topic. Right. I'll make two topics. One's just a statement though, and I will say I think the paranormal field as a whole is going back towards realism compared to the sensationalism, and a lot of that's like you said, John. A lot of it's because people were tired of the same thing, same episode at a different location every time. They're tired of Aaron. I'm going to send you to the basement by yourself. They're tired of they're tired of it's cold here. It's going to be cold. It's an old building. And the funny thing about that is, I've guest spotted on several different shows. Not bragging, because a lot of times I get cut off because I won't sell the beeping of the REM pod and stuff. So a lot of times I get cut out. But I've been on a lot of them, and the producers always tell me, they're like, we need you to sell this. I'm like, I've been investigating 20 years, 30 years now. I was like, I don't react just because the REM pod beeps or just because I hear a bump in the back. So yeah. And, I don't have a problem with anybody doing anything until they make it a problem for the field. And this is what I'm saying. You'll get where I'm going once I get done. So this is one team that you mentioned earlier. Two people. I call them the Spice Girls of the paranormal field. Sam and Kobe. So because of them, there's locations now that you cannot go live at. You cannot release a video until it's approved by the location. And that I know that firsthand because, you always have to sign the waiver, blah, blah, blah. So I went back to South Pittsburgh Hospital 2 years ago. And, same usual waiver. And they're like, hold on, there's a new page. And the new page basically said, you can't go live. You can't release your video until you submit it to them. You can't run around yelling demon. And they specifically told me, they're like, this is because Sam and Kobe did that. So, and it's not just South Pittsburgh Hospital. It's Harriman Hospital. It's Octagon Hall. It's the Military State Penitentiary. It's Waverly Hills. So that's when I have a problem. If you're going to make it harder on the legitimate people, I'm going to have a problem. When you buy a school that's not even that active and raise the entrance price from $150 to $1,000, I have a problem. This ain't Sam and Kobe, this is another team. When you go to a Paracon and you charge $70 for a picture that's not even autographed, just a 5x10 picture of the team, I have a problem. That's when I have a problem. Until then, do what you want. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, we suck at that because we're always giving everything away for free.
I know you were trying to pay me to come to the convention.
I was, yeah. I was, yeah.
So that's all I got to say about that. So I agree with what you were saying. I'm going to transition to this because I think it's a good point that a lot of people miss out on. I like what you said about going to lesser known locations. Waverly's been done. They've all those places have been done. I like to find like little local gyms.
Oh yeah.
Like the Glen House in Cape Girardeau. I've been there 3 times now. It's a good place. There's this one place you wouldn't think it was active, but it's like crazy active. Like my friend Eric, he gives it an 8 out of 10 on his scale, how active it is. It's a bed and breakfast in East Prairie. And then I do a newer place as far as investigation. It's not a new place. It's an historical place. But as far as allowing investigations is down your way in Tennessee. And you guys, I invited you guys to come with me. I don't know if you guys are still planning on going to the Rosemount, the historic Rosemount with me. But,
okay.
It's the first Saturday of next month. If you want to come with me, it's $50 per person. I don't know why I'm discussing that in there, but yeah,
It's okay.
but it's my show. I can do what I want. But yeah, I've already paid the deposit, so you guys are definitely welcome to come.
Thank you.
I know you guys know of them. I don't think you've actually been able to investigate them with them yet, but Jimmy, Outlaw Paranormal is going to be there.
Jimmy Ricker. Yep.
Yeah. He's Jimmy and Jeff are really good friends of mine. So
yeah.
Jimmy's actually going to come to the Rosemount. So if you guys come, there's only going to be like 5 of us if you guys come. So I like small numbers. It makes the investigation.
Oh yeah.
Better.
Makes them more intimate. Makes them more active, probably too.
Yeah. I even like to make it a little bit even more intimate, and I like to do at least one session just me. A solo session with just me. I think the best one I've ever done was on my birthday every year. I do an investigation, for my birthday. So last year I went to the Monroe House, the mysterious Monroe House. I'm glad, so my birthday is actually on January 19th, but of course we went up there on January 18th because that was a Saturday. So at midnight, when it actually became my birthday, I decided I was going to do a solo down in the basement because that's where the malicious spirit's supposed. That's where the demon's supposed. So I decided I was going to do a solo there, but it was actually a really good session. As far as equipment hits, it's probably the most equipment hits I ever had. I went down there with my video camera, my voice recorder, and then I'm not a big Ovilus person or any ITC really. But I do have a Paratech VM5, and I've been using it for 3 years. I get good results with it. So I had that, and then I had an Apple box, for Ghost Scare, the fancy box, and which that's a cool piece of equipment. But if you use that, you have to remember you have the voice on, because if you forget you have the voice on at like 2:00 in the morning, you hear yes real loud, it freaks you out because it's Dave Schroeder's voice.
Yeah.
So
the alarm clock.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm down there, and I'm a respectful investigator, as you guys know. So I'm down there. I'm just talking to, and the first question I ask is I ask the spirit, I asked them if they died there, because nobody really knows why the Monroe House is active. They don't know if it's the property or the house. So I'm trying to talk to them. I mean, there's theories, but nobody really knows. So I asked the spirit if they died there, and the answer was yes. Dave Schroeder said yes. And then I was like, okay, did you die in the house? Trying to dig deeper, and the answer I got was yes. I was like, okay. So let's talk about how you died. I was like, were you physically killed? Were you beat to death? Were you strangled? The answer I got was no.
Okay.
So you can go back and watch this on my video on my YouTube channel.
I'll check it out. Yeah. Well, hopefully it was just natural causes and nothing too traumatic.
Yeah. So the next question I asked, I was like, okay, were you killed by a weapon? Were you stabbed? Were you shot? Were you beat to death with a bat? And the answer I got again was no. So at this point, my reaction and my question was, okay. I was like, now I'm a little bit confused. You said you died in the house. I said, yes. But you wasn't killed by a weapon or physically killed. Yes. I was like, okay, this changes around a little bit then. Can you tell me how you died? And next thing I got, the Paratech said fire. Which was interesting because I never mentioned fire. And I was the only one in the room. But historically, it was also important because the Monroe House is burnt down at least 5 times.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Yep.
At least 5 times.
Wow.
So it's interesting. It's one of those pieces of evidence I hang on to because I couldn't debunk it. The other one that I hang on to, one of the other ones that I hang on to like that is Octagon Hall here in Kentucky. One of the most haunted places in the South, if you consider Kentucky the South, which I do. But that's beside the point. I mean, so I'm
It's
down
the
in
South,
the, it's the South. I mean, I share my birthday with Robert E. Lee and Dolly Parton, so it's the South. And Janis Joplin, and so anyway, I'm down in the basement in the room that they turn into like the family library, and I'm doing an EVP session, and something tells me to look up. You know, my abilities or whatever. Something tells me to look up, and when I look up, I see an apparition. But usually when you see apparition, it's like there, then it's not. This apparition was pacing in front of the steps. I was actually able to record it for 28 seconds.
Oh wow!
So after I got out of shock witnessing this, I get up and I start debunking it. My first thing was, well, maybe it's headlights. We're acting on halls in the middle of nowhere, and this is 3:00 in the morning, so there ain't no headlights. So I'm trying to debunk it. I can't debunk it. I have one of my friends' teams, Night Song Paranormal. I don't know if you know Barbie and them, but they were going there the next weekend. So I was like, here's what I got. I sent them the video. I'm like, see if you can debunk it. They couldn't debunk it. So, I still hold on to that as evidence. So that's all. This is a long way for this question. What's the best evidence you guys have ever captured?
Let's see here. That's a tough question because we've had a few instances where we were like, what the hell was that? Let's see here. The best evidence that we've gotten. I don't know. It's we're like we said, like we tend to be pretty skeptical, but it seems like everywhere we go, we always go in there not to find anything, and whenever we do, we tend to find something. We haven't released any of it yet, but we actually went to Sinzabal, and there was actually probably the clearest EVPs that we had ever heard in the entire time of us doing this. Even to the point of, and it's all on our TikToks and socials, and you can listen to those. And it was kind of ironic though, because where we go in and we try to debunk, we've shown this to seasoned investigators, and they said, well, are you sure you're not faking this evidence? But there was one instance of John walking into Sinzabal Tunnel, and at one point the spirit box says, be quiet. And then John said, well, I'm trying to be quiet. Or basically, well, I'll be quiet, but you told me that you were going to show me yourself. And at that point, we called a very clear EVP of a little girl's voice that said, he says that now, but wait until then. And we thought that was just, and I would say John and I are probably the biggest believers out of our group. But the other three, they listen to it, and they're very staunch non-believers in it. And I think Casey even threw the headphones off whenever he listened to it, because he was like, I did not like that. I think on the other side, we got a lot of interesting things over at the River House. And that was one of our investigators' names being called out. And his name was Greg, and it actually said Gregory. And again, he was one of the biggest non-believers that we had, and it shook him pretty bad. And we actually caught quite a few EVPs to where the rest of the group was outside. They were all talking and having a good time. And I jokingly looked through the window and I go, hey, y'all keep it down out there. And at that moment, Greg's on the Estes method, and I'm in there doing a spirit box session, and it said, be quiet. And then Greg yelled in the opposite room, be quiet. So it's always like the weird coincidences that we get. As far as like probably visual evidence, probably the Shops of 1910 would be another one where and we always say, we don't go straight to demon. That was probably one of the few cases I had where I felt like I was probably being spiritually attacked, and that was a moment of whenever it said it was attached to me. I said, may Jesus bless this room. And when I did that, every light in the room went out. So it's you always say, it's for us, it's, we get this stuff, and we always say, well, nobody's going to believe us because we don't even believe ourselves whenever we catch this stuff. But John, is there anything that stands out to you?
I don't know. There was a knocking there at the river house that kept happening.
Yeah.
But we weren't recording at the time. We had I think I had my camera set up elsewhere, and we were in that living room area, and it was just like a steady knock, but it wasn't. It almost sounded like old water pipes, like that kind of knocking you kind of hear in some old water pipes, but there's no water in the house. There's no electricity in the house. That was one of the reasons why we wanted to go, is that we knew there wasn't going to be any kind of electrical interference stuff happening and making all of our sensors go off and readings go off, and it's just the wall, it's just the electricity in the wall. But something was knocking on the wall, and it wouldn't do it again. So it was probably an animal outside.
Right.
But I don't know. There were those horses we kept hearing, but we could never see.
And I never heard them. That's yeah. And you and Christy were like, they were right next to us.
Yeah, like we were outside walking around the property, and there was this big, barbed wire fence around the neighbor's property, and they had animals, but it sounded like there was a horse right there, and we had our lights shining around. We couldn't see anything. So if they were far away, then the sound was traveling very well, and it was that was very interesting. So.
Yeah, you got those locations where you don't have to worry about any electrical or whatever influence. We have my dad's side of my family is actually from Carroll, Illinois. And for people who don't know anything about Carroll, Illinois, it's like a living ghost town. It's like it used to be like a big, blistering thing. It used to be such a big thing, like General Grant's. That's where his headquarters was when they invaded Kentucky and Tennessee. And he actually stayed there twice as president. And Al Capone had headquarters there. And it ended up getting destroyed by racial riots, And but anyway, they have a hospital there, St. Mary's Hospital. It was it closed down in 1988 and has been abandoned since. So we actually go there. I use it like it's a training ground. I take people there to, because it's a hospital. So you're going to have activity. And it's abandoned. So absolutely no wires, no anything. And we caught a thermal camera. I love the thermal camera because you can't fake it. You either get something or you don't. So we was on we were investigating with JB Coates. I don't know if you know JB or not, but she's from down there in Tennessee where she's at. And JB likes to go live. That's her thing. She likes to go live.
Yeah.
Which she went live, and if she went live, I got a scratch on my face. And then so we left that floor when everybody else did. I stayed up there and I was taking pictures with the thermal. And I took a picture of Dennis and Denise, which are two of my team members. But so obviously I got Dennis's heat signature and Denise's heat signature. But then I got the shape of a 6'2", 6'3" gentleman, woman, whatever, standing right in between them, a heat signature. I'm like, okay, we have somebody here with us. So, when you get stuff like that, it's not interference. So it's something.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the Urine Shrine.
Okay.
So the Urine Shrine, I've actually had the privilege of going there twice. Twice. I was going to say 3 times, but I think it's twice.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting place.
Yeah.
It's one you can't say it's haunted because there's that, but I think the energy there. This is my theory. I'll get you guys' theory. I think the energy there makes it active. I think, it's a safe place for the spirits. And then you have objects that may have attachments, so it's just the atmosphere. So what do you guys think?
So for the Ura Shrine, we've been asked a lot about it, and if you watch our episode and we have 2 different versions of the episodes, it's about 2.5 hours for the first coverage of it. And then we have just the interview with Rick. I think the most fascinating thing, about the Ura Shrine is Rick. And we consider Rick to be a good friend, really great storyteller, really great guy, fairly knowledgeable. And so we for the coverage that we did on it, because and again, I would say Rick was definitely kind of not the cast stones, but sort of a victim of a lot of sensationalism that was going on there. And we whenever we went in there, we actually got to meet Rick, because we called him and he called us back. And I think, I talked to Rick for about 2 hours, and he invited us to an herbology class just to come take a look at it, see what we thought about it. And we did. And we went there, really enjoyed ourselves, and just spent time with him. Went there and shot our episode probably a couple weeks later. There wasn't anything that I would say that was substantial that we found. I think that if you had anything in correlation with, the witchcraft there, that's practiced there. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But what we did was, the only thing that we could say is that we, on camera, that we didn't hear while we were there would be 3 knocks, which, could be interpreted in many different ways. It could be an invitation. It could be an invite to the other side. It could be a mocking of the Trinity. It could be a number of things. And then the most substantial thing, I think, for me there and would probably be the dragon table, which John got most of the knowledge on that, and I'll let him touch on that. But past that, for the Euroshrine, I really thought it was interesting, because we were all trying to think of this very popular doll in Florida after seeing Sally there. And we said, God, it reminds us of this one doll, And so we go out there and we do an Estes session. And then very clearly comes through my Estes session, Robert. And so we all went, Robert the doll. That's who we were trying to think of, and we thought that was just so coincidental. But from there, though, the dragon table was definitely the most fascinating thing. And Rick, obviously, we did talk a lot about, there's a lot of positivity at the place too. And I think it's been painted in a light of that it's the most haunted, scariest, evil place ever. And it's really none of those things. It's honestly a very peaceful place. We were all ready to camp out there whenever we went there. And we've been there I'd say we've been there a few times off camera, just to go and talk to Rick, because we really enjoy his company. But
Rick's a good guy.
He is.
I actually got overwhelmed with my gifts. I was doing a Estes method in the witchcraft circle, in the witches circle.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I want to say I usually do not do this part of the Estes method, because with my abilities, they already communicate with me. So if I do this, I tend to get more communication than I desire.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's kind of what happened. I had several trying to speak to me at one time, so it was just kind of overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually left the circle, which is not something I do. I don't leave an investigation, but I left the circle and made my way back to, and Rick actually gave me a piece of the bamboo, to calm me. So yeah, he's a fascinating guy. So,
yeah.
John, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so the table was very interesting, and he was very upfront. He was like, we made this table to be special, to harness energies, to summon energies, and I think he said there's like 7 layers of the table that he built, like with 7 layers of concrete, and there's all different things spread throughout it. But one of the things is magnetite, and it's it's a magnetic mineral that's ground up, and it's all throughout that table. And of course, a lot of our stuff was going haywire. But what was very interesting is that we did an experiment, because the table is set up with a light side and a dark side. And then, do you remember what the other 2 ends were? I can't remember. I think that was just north and south.
Yeah, I think we said north south, but I think you also said that would have been like kind of like a neutrality there.
Right. But it was just like different poles. It was like, you had the light on one side, the dark on the other, and then the other side it's flipped. So we did an experiment where we all sat down and we just sat there. We didn't have the cameras were the only electronics going. We didn't have anything else going, but we just kind of sat there and we had some reflection, like self-reflection time, and it was very obvious as you moved around the table and sat there and kind of opened up to what you were feeling that your placement around the table would impact the way you felt, the way you thought. And I think a lot of that's to do with science, but there was also some, kind of occult items that were put into the table. So, you could say that influenced it and added to it, but there's not really any way to tell because of all the known things that has been put into it. It was very interesting. It was very cool, and I'd like to do it again sometime.
Yeah, I think that to add to what John's saying too, and would be, you would have. I think I just saw a crazy comment come through. Would it be ethical to let a spirit impregnate my daughter? No. Just to answer your question, no.
You will not get child support.
No. That would literally be a deadbeat dad. Anyways, moving on. But for the dragon table, whenever we did that test, we actually we did a clock test as well too. And I did it a little bit differently, because what we did, I said, I want you guys to draw a clock. And it was essentially just a very minor preliminary psych eval. So we did that. And in the clocks, nobody really knew what the other was, the clock that they were drawing. Well, the times were all synchronous. So it actually went 1 through 4. And it was very, very amazing. And I thought that there's definitely something about that dragon table that is just wild to me. And then along with the compass test too. So we used the generic, non-electric compass, laid it down, and each portion of the table that you laid it on, it would give a completely different direction. And if you laid it on the what would we call it, the north side of the table, it would actually point straight to the Oni shrine.
Yeah. So, yeah. So yeah. I mean, that's just kind of like your shrine. Like you said, Doug. I think it got over sensationalized. Some people try to make it out to be evil and all this stuff. I think it's a cool place, but like you said, I think it's a safe place. I think if there is spirits there, that's why they're there. It's because it's a safe place. You have the table, you have the room with the fountains. You have the hot side and the cold side to neutralize everything. You have the door. We play. We tested a little bit of everything. The first time I was there with SRS Paranormal, and they decided that I needed to try to use the Ouija board for the serial killer, and of course it was on the table. So like you said, anything on the table you have to consider the magnetic aspect of the table and stuff. So it's a cool place. It's one of those places, it's private now unless you get invited, but it's one of those places, if you have an opportunity to go to, you should, but it's nothing evil. And like you said, Rick's a very good guy. So we are over our time. So I do have a few more questions though, and I can ask them because it's my show.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
No.
So, okay. So we're going to do rapid fire questions. Okay.
Okay.
I'm just going to say something, and you just give me your first response. Are you ready?
A quiz.
This is one of my favorite rounds. Bigfoot or Dogman?
Dogman.
Ghosts or cryptids?
Cryptids.
Most believable conspiracy?
Psyops.
9/11's an inside job.
Yeah. I agree with that too.
One place you have to investigate.
Anywhere.
Yeah, I'd say Sensible if you're in the region.
Sensible, yeah, that's a good one. Investigate Kingsport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a few more questions. I'll get you off here because everybody's got something to do. I guess. What's the wildest thing you've ever covered?
The wildest thing that we ever covered? I don't know.
About the Alabama white thing.
That was that. Well, that was pretty tame compared. I would.
Yeah.
I don't know. The wildest thing. It could be a tie between Nebula, who was a contactee with the Galactic Federation, or it could be a who we call her Sophie, but she was based out in Florida, which she believed that she was shot and killed and immediately reincarnated. Those were two pretty crazy cases. I'm probably going to give it to Sophie with the quantum immortality because I think John and I had many sleepless nights, and it honestly changed our perspective of how we probably perceive life and death now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was wild.
So, to whoever this root vegetable is, if you actually have an activity like this,
you
need to reach out to somebody in your area so they can help you. Nobody's going to be able to help you over a podcast or without coming and doing an investigation.
Yeah, just to be clear, I hope that you're trolling root vegetable, but if not, then need to reach out to somebody.
That was why we joked. Normally we have a pretty good sense about trolls, but if it is serious, then please do reach out to somebody because you shouldn't be afraid.
No.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah, right. I agree with that. So, all right. So, what's one thing you thought was so that over again. What's something you thought that was paranormal, but you found out it wasn't?
There's been quite a few things. It would be kind of hard to pinpoint anything. I think at Sensible, I think that we did find that, our EMF detector was going off pretty heavily in the center, which there was actually a direct line going through that. So there was actually a lot of power coming from that area. I would say in the Euro Shrine, whenever we were in the room with Sally, the lights in there, we were all, the EMF detector was, going haywire in Sally's room with the coffin. And we were able to debunk that the lights in there were actually emitting quite a bit of EMF. So whenever we turned out the lights, it went completely away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hit on whatever you want to call it. I got an image on the thermal camera there with Sally, and then I was able to debunk it as the lights. So yeah. Okay. Is there any topic you would never touch again?
I don't know. For me, I don't think so yet. I don't think we've covered a lot, but we've only been doing this for a few years seriously. So,
the only time I would say that there's something I would not touch as far as cases that we've covered. No. And I would say we're not very, and this isn't to be tough or anything, but we're not easily scared. I think there's not really a lot that unsettles us. In our minds, there's not a lot out there that's going to hurt us unless it's more environmental, falling through something or tripping on something. And then the other thing is just, people in general. I would always go on the side of caution for anybody that you potentially try to interact with or interview, and make sure that you're not putting yourself in danger by talking to certain individuals. So unless I have to get into a fist fight with the devil, probably not.
That's an interesting standpoint. I mean, one thing I don't think people really realize about me is not only have I been doing this since I came over the Mayflower. I've been doing this for 34 4 years now, but I'm also an educated investigator. I'm experienced. I got 700 and some odd cases behind me. I wrote the book, and all that stuff. But I also do it from I try to do it from a scientific standpoint and a educated standpoint. So I actually have a degree in parapsychology, and I have 2 degrees in theology, and then I took demonology training under Bishop Long. I figured if I was going to do this, I wanted to have some legitimacy in what I do. So
absolutely, yeah. Well, and I think integrity is everything. I'll reverse it on you. Is there anything that you wouldn't touch again?
Have I? So no, and I say that with an explanation. So I don't think I've ever been scared. There's some residential cases I've done. They're the ones that are kind of. There's 2 of them that were kind of borderline demonic. So they were interesting. But from my standpoint, especially in residential cases, if I don't go in to help them, who's going to? So if I'm too scared to help them, they're going to be even more scared. So no, there's nothing I wouldn't try, except for maybe fighting the devil. That might be, that might.
I take the fight, but I don't know how much I'd win.
I once upon a time, pre-brain surgery, I was a professional MMA fighter, so maybe I have a little bit of chance. So we'll get ready to close. I will say that you guys, just let me know if you want to come to the Rosemount with me. I would love to have you. Like I said. And then, so here's the closing. This is your opportunity to plug your show, to let people tell you where they can find you, all that fun stuff. So this is your time.
Okay, so again, my name's Doug, and I'm with the co-founder of the Wendibros. You can find us on all social medias at the Wendibros. So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, X. Wherever you can get on social media, the Wendibros are there. And then you can also find us at various conventions. And then our emails at thewendibros@gmail.com. So if you've listened to this and if you need help or if you need us to come take a look at something, we're a little more down to earth than probably a lot of other folks. We'd be more than happy to help you out. But my closing part is if you got a boo, you better call a bro.
That's right. Doug's so you're so well. You're so good at that. Okay, I have nothing to add other than I'm John. I'm also a co-founder of the Wendibros. So, but do reach out. Don't be afraid. Especially if you think it sounds dumb or silly.
Absolutely.
Like, there are people that will take you seriously. But also be aware that if there is nothing going on, then take the advice. It's been really great being on here.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for being on here. I will ask you, I guess, you guys are going to be my secondary headliners.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
After Angie Thompson, I do need you guys to record me a video, just saying we're going to be there, come see us, that type of thing, so I can get that out there. So
absolutely. Yep, we can do that.
With that being said, thank you for being on here. Once I wrap this up, I'll send it over to you guys later so you can share it or whatever you want to do with it. So
sounds great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kent, and we'll see you at the West Kentucky Paranormal Expo, buddy.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
All right.